Good morning, Felicia.
Good morning, Jeff.
Where in the world are we today?
We are at the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive.
And what are we doing here?
We're going to drive for about an hour and take a look at some of the natural wildlife that occurs on the north shore of Lake Apopka.
Yeah, this is someplace we've never been before, but we've heard quite a bit about it. And when our kids still lived with us, this is something they never really wanted to come and do. But now that we're empty nesters, we're going to see what kind of wildlife that we can find out here on this drive.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. All right, just a few facts about the Wildlife Drive. It is about 11 miles long. It's one way only, so when you come in, it's going to take you along basically the north shore of the lake, and then you exit out in a different location. The speed limit is 10 miles per hour. It is a dirt road, but it is very well maintained. If you have a larger vehicle, and that's an option, I would take it, but you could take any kind of passenger car and you'd be okay. There are a lot of turnoffs that we've seen so far, so there are places to stop that you can get out, get some good pictures of the wildlife. You're not supposed to stop at any other location unless it is one of those turnouts. There are bathrooms along the way for you to stop. There is no place to get water or anything though, so make sure you bring that with you. It is pet friendly, so if you bring your dog, just make sure it's on a leash. And it is free to get in here. It is only open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the weekends and certain holidays. I'll be sure to link the website below so you can get all the exact details on that, but it is definitely limited hours. And I guess at this point, I'll let Felicia talk a little bit about the history of this place.
So this is obviously on the north shore of Lake Apopka here in Central Florida, just outside of Orlando. So the original lake was about 50,000 acres, but in 1941 a levee was built to turn about 20,000 of those acres into farmland. So the lake itself shrunk to about 30,000 acres. But in the 80s, the first of several pieces of legislation were passed to sort of start to restore some of the wetlands and those kinds of things here in Central Florida. So what you see behind us is actually a pump house. They're pumping water from the lake back into the wetlands to make sure that, despite the fact that the levee is still here, because it obviously was built as a permanent structure into the landscape and so on, they couldn't really remove it, but despite the fact that it's here, that the wetland gets plenty of the water that it needs from the lake itself. Should be noted too, there is an audio tour that you can take along the way. You scan a QR code on your way in, so there are some stops along the way that tell you point one, and you stop and listen to that and go on from there. Like Jeff said, you really can't pull over any other places. We came across some people who have, but they're pretty courteous about making sure they pull way over so that if you want to get around them, you can. It's totally self-paced, which is really cool. So like, you know, we've stopped at the points we wanted to stop and didn't stop where we didn't want to stop. It's a big birding attraction, so tons of people here with like lots of really expensive and high-tech binoculars and cameras and telephoto lenses and those kind of things. We've chatted with a couple of them along the way, just kind of talking about the wildlife that we're seeing, so it's kind of a neat experience.
Yeah, and I think we're only about maybe a third of the way in, so we're gonna get back in our car here in a minute and continue on the drive. See you shortly. I did mention that we're on the 11-mile wildlife drive, but there are a number of hiking and biking trails here. I believe about 20 miles of them. It's called the Loop Trail. You can see there are several different trailheads that you can start or end your trip on. The eventual goal is to have a loop trail that goes all the way around the entire lake. Right now though, it does not, so you have to go out and back if you try to do the whole thing. I don't need to run fast, just faster than you guys.
That's right.
Just can't be the slowest person, that's all.
Behind.
Jerry's volunteering for that. Small dog, we're good. I think the worst
Yeah.
I saw was a whole
Check to see
family
how much
of kids
it's
and
underwater.
small dogs. There was one.
Well, the drive took us a little under 2 hours. The website says it's anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, depending on obviously how long you stop. What are your final thoughts on doing this wildlife drive here on Lake Apopka?
This was super fun. You know, like Jeff said, it took us just under 2 hours. We did stop a few times. One time we kind of had an extended length of time that we stopped because we were looking at an exceptionally large alligator. If you are at all into birding, this is absolutely the place for you. There are just thousands of birds. I mean, I can't even begin to say, and how many species, I don't know. We're not really bird people, but I would say like we probably, if I counted how many different ones, we probably saw 100 different bird species here. Like there are just a lot of bird species. Tons of alligators. We have alligators where we live too, in our ponds and where we used to live and those kind of things. They're probably about maybe 4 feet. The biggest one where we used to live, there was one that was about 6 feet. He would come out and sun himself. These alligators, these are no joke. These are like 10, 12 feet long alligators. They're huge. They do have some smaller ones too. I know some people who were who we were talking to along the way said that she was here in May and that's their mating season, and when they first have their little calves and they're starting to lay their eggs and those kind of things, and she said it was just like hordes of the females and the males were sparring for territory. It's a really neat thing to see, so we thought maybe we'll come back in the spring and see if we can catch some of that as well. One thing to keep in mind, this is wildlife. You're in their home. Please be careful and be mindful.
The one lady was telling us a story about some people were getting right down close to one of the bigger alligators during mating season, trying to get like a selfie. Not a smart thing.
Don't turn your back. Don't get in their faces. You know, there's a reason there's a fence between you and where they are. And that's because, yeah, they're pretty used to people, but they're wild animals and they're predators. And alligators can move pretty fast on land if they need to.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't really matter what time of year you come. There's definitely different things to see throughout the year. You know, alligators during mating season and whatnot, but this is Florida. The birds don't fly south for the winter. They fly to here,
yeah.
if anything. So
for the winter.
It doesn't really matter what time of year you come. The grass is going to be green. You know, the trees are going to have leaves on them, and there's going to be plenty of wildlife to see. So if you're in this area and you're looking for something to do, it's definitely a good few hours if you want to spend that. And it's not all that far away from downtown Orlando and the theme parks. Yeah.
And it's free.
So thanks once again, as always, for watching. We're going to have more videos about things to do here in Central Florida coming out in the near future. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, please, and share it with your friends. Have a great day.